Hey there, I want to talk a bit about the Lumix S1II. I think this is such an underrated camera, and this is the most powerful Lumix S1II series camera launch. This has got the same sensor as that of what you get on the Z5II and the Nikon ZF, which means it's a 24 megapixels, backside illuminated, very high dynamic range, beautifully color-rich sensor. Great for, any kind of photography work. So great, but I'm really interested how this hits the right balance for video, and that's when I think this camera really shines. First of all, this camera still comes with this very premium tilt and flip screen, right? This one, tilt and flip screen, very powerful solution for hybrid workflow. It does have the tally light in the front. It does have a fan here. Same well-built, nice body. You've got a lock button here. You've got your settings dialed in, and you don't want to accidentally change your settings. You've got the lock button here. So on so many things, this camera is just the right kind of build. Okay, I really like the viewfinder as well. Now, when it comes to video, let me tell you, the stabilization is fantastic. These three bodies are the same kind of stabilization. But what really shocked me, what really led me to download a specific kind of software to check its file was its performance in the second base with Vlog. The second base ISO is ISO 4000, and I was comparing the second base ISO files of the Z6 III, the S1II, which has a second base ISO, if I'm not wrong, of 5000. This has got 4000. And when I was looking at the footage, I thought I made a mistake somehow, and I'm actually comparing the base file from the S1II. Name is confusing. But no, so I checked the EXIF data of the video file, and I realized, no, I wasn't wrong. I put the files correctly on the timeline, and that was indeed an ISO 4000, the second base ISO file. And it looked like a native, it looked like ISO 640, native first base ISO. It was crazy. I couldn't believe my eyes. The colors were so rich. And there was hardly any noise. And I'm thinking, for any low light videography, especially for Indian weddings or weddings in anywhere, or shows or events in the evening, this camera, I don't think anyone is beating this camera. The S1II is, in my view, the best. Let me tell you, the S1R2, for example, is really good when you do not want to use ND filter and shoot in broad daylight, because the base ISO is ISO 200 with the dynamic expansion or boost mode on the S1R2. The base ISO is, I think, 400, which means that you want to give it a lot more light than you need to give the S1II or S1II. So that camera is great for a very bright day outside. This camera is really good, especially because of its second base power. Very smartly done, Lumix. This camera is really powerful and really good for a low light indoor videography, when you have to use a, let's say, 1.8 lens or even a 2.8 zoom lens, and you want to just push the ISO higher. This camera is remarkable. I just couldn't believe it. The color will tilt slightly towards magenta, but it is not as strong as the S1R2. So it's I would say, within the Lumix world, the color reproduction is balanced, but the colors are really thick. The colors are really dense, thick colors. Really pleasing colors. The skin rendering is really good. There is no, I wouldn't say there's any color cast, and you can just tweak the files a little bit, just change the temperature of the files in post and get just the right kind of tonality. Also, let me tell you, another very interesting thing about this camera is that I do have the fully powerful 10-bit 422 all intra files for 4K in this one, which, Lumix did not drop it, and I'm really thankful. But I do have this one thing, I have to still look out for what video file format and codec and what frame rate will allow for autofocus, and I don't know which one is not going to work with autofocus. So there are these combinations that I need to understand between frame rates and file codecs, and whether it has autofocus working or auto exposure working and stuff like that. I think that's a problem on the Lumix front. I would say that whatever they come up with next, or if they can push a firmware update, they should fix that, because Look, when I shoot with my Nikon, they've given me NRAW, the ProRes HQ, and 10-bit 420 H.265. Now, once they've given me, they're not asking me to choose between files and frame rates. Any file I want, any 4K, 6K, anything I want, any frame rate that's available on the camera, I can shoot with any of the codecs. I can shoot it with NRAW or H.265 or ProRes HQ. Yes, there is also ProRes RAW. In camera does not go beyond 30 frames a second because the files are much heavier. Also, you can't do RAW in 1080 because raw 1080. How are we going to do it? Because essentially 1080 means 2 megapixel files. It's very small. Scanning a 24 megapixel camera and bringing it down in RAW, it's kind of nonsensical. So understandably, you don't do RAW on with 1080 on the Nikon cameras. But for everything else, you've been given everything. Autofocus works on everything, and auto exposure works on with any combination. That's not the truth with the Lumix cameras. That is just one thing. So although you have so many features, so many codecs and options and blah blah, but you know that if you are in autofocus situation, auto exposure situations, some of those options are not available to you. So that's how it is. By the way, I'm shooting this on the Nikon Z6 III with the Sigma 51.2, and so let me know how's the autofocus. This is the Lumix 51.4. all right, all these cameras are borrowed for a few days. That one is a Lumix S1II. I really like the denseness of the files of that camera of the Lumix S1II, but I think it does tilt a lot towards magenta, and I wish I could have had a base ISO of 640. And I think ISO 200 is a bit too low for indoor situations. So this is my only sort of reservation with that camera. And also when it comes to autofocus, I think the S1R2 is the slowest, the S1II is the best, and S1II comes very close to the S1II. So this overall is a fantastic camera to go for. Let me know guys what you want to see more of in this channel. I can have conversations on Fuji, Sony, Nikon, and Lumix and Canon as well. So look forward to comments or questions. Let me know what you want to see. Help this channel grow to 10,000 subscribers by subscribing to this channel. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. I'm going to see you soon with another one.